Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 11. It's like, I think I've been going live a different time each day. I love to follow the energy with that. But today is day 11, and we're going to talk a little bit about self-trust. Hello, everybody. Jumping on. We're continuing on our lives from 14 days of following the energy in life and biz. And we're on day 11. Can you believe it already? So I'm saving all these to IG, to the video section, and on YouTube in a playlist. So that way you can just binge through them, because we've been kind of building on the information from the first day. Happy Saturday, everyone. How you doing? Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about self-trust and how you feel about that for you. Do you feel like you can trust yourself? Do you feel like you struggle with it? What is coming up for you with that? And before we jump in, I just want to remind folks that today is the last day of the pre-sale to jump into the Activate membership. So right now, the membership is 20% off with the code ACTIVATE. I want you to get that this is a big deal, because then you are grandfathered in at this rate. And it's already gone up from its inaugural launch last month. And there's just so much stuff in there that I'm telling you, like, if you're pinged, what would it take? Now is the time. And the 20% off is for the monthly payments as well as the pay in full. And if you pay in full, you get a deal. So it's like 20% off and the deal, oh my God. So that ends tonight. Like tonight, 11:59, like I always get the last minute people who are like, oh, hey, is the code still available a day or two later? No, it's not. I stick to those rules, boundaries, if you will, pretty concretely, because it's out there and it's also in service of choice. If you know, choose. This is part of it. This is part of us learning to trust ourselves. That you are, let's say if you pinged my welcome call, that you were pinged for the welcome call for a reason, that you were pinged to put yourself on a wait list for a reason. So what would it take for you to start to tune into that and listen to that? And that's exactly what we're talking about in the October month of Activate, which is let your biz tell you what to do, to be able to connect with the energy, what's coming up for you and your business, so that you can choose from there, right? Versus waiting for people outside of you to tell you what to do. So that is happening tonight. And one other thing that I'm just throwing in there, because I know some folks have been curious about what's been going on since we started, and I know people are also looking for tasters. So I do have a current bundle. However, I'm doing something very special, unique, that is literally only good till tomorrow night at midnight. So we have a little over 24 hours, like 36 hours to choose this. I'm basically dropping what we created in September for half off. So you get access to the Activate calls in September, which are the Get Seen on social. So this is all about the energetics of showing up on social, being seen, being heard, showing up as you, starting to build that foundation of a community, a platform, and so that you're working towards building the trust with your audience so that they get out of the friend zone and they want to date you, they want to buy from you. Right, so that's what we're looking with Get Seen. And then the masterclass last month was obliterating doubt. I'm in the self-trust today too, obliterating doubt. So that bundle is Get Seen and obliterating doubt. And it's normally $777, and it's gonna be half off for like 36 hours with a code, I believe, save 50. So stay tuned to my stories, because I'm going to drop the link and the code in my stories today after the live. Okay. Now that we have that out of the way, talk to me about self-trust. What is coming up for you around trust? Do you trust yourself in your life, in your business? Where do you feel like you doubt yourself? I see how this is very relevant since I just had the doubt call last month, but where do you doubt yourself? So I've talked about in previous calls how it is really common for us to look outside of ourselves for answers. And what is happening here with that? I mean, besides that this reality really teaches us to do that, when we are dialed in to the anxious radio station, when we're tuned into that, when it's 97.7 anxiety channel is on, we are looking outside of ourselves to soothe, for reassurance. Okay, and relationships is one. Yeah, absolutely. So that could be intimate relationships, friendships, business relationships. Do you go into the, oh, are they mad at me? Did I say the wrong thing? Did I offend them? Do you go into all of that where you really doubt and struggle to be you, to just show up as you? So what would it take for you to choose that? Well, we got to get off the anxiety radio station, right? Because if we're plugged in there and we're already feeling dysregulated, we're naturally going to tell ourselves a story to match that. So when we're dysregulated, our mind is just going to zero in on details to match it. So certainly we can look at regulating ourselves first as to get off 97.7, because it's like, I don't want to live there. I don't want to live in anxiety central. So when you can start to regulate yourself, then naturally the stories will dissipate. And it does require a little bit more, because if we're so used to reassurance seeking, it can take some time to reprogram that. Okay, so folks are saying at work, imposter syndrome, other areas where you doubt yourself. Yes, oh my gosh. And it's kind of like, I got that I was doing this really dynamically in just the service of me looking for the next degree, the next certification. How many more degrees did I have till I would feel confident, till I felt like I knew what I was talking about? And I just had to choose things. It's like I had to choose things that already had me doubting and nervous, and just choose them and show up and do them messy and do them imperfect and show up anyways and just do it. Until I started to feel more confident based on what I was doing. Now, I got the feedback earlier on that I was kind of functioning from a place of less confident that was not comparable to my skill level. That was like in my early days as a therapist. And I was like, okay, so what is this? I'm so focused on the wrongness. What would it take to look at the things that I am competent in and to continue to just step outside my comfort zone and build a lot of data for myself, right, to feel more comfortable? So it's kind of like no one can tell you enough, don't worry about it, you know what you're doing, you got this, or whatever, right? No one can soothe you enough with that when we're in reassurance seeking mode, right? Because we are already anxious. So we need to actually choose the thing that has us nervous and do it, right? Like we need to choose it, do it really messy and imperfect in order to start to build some trust. What else is coming up for folks around trust? How do you know when there is a ping? Is there a difference between anxiety and intuition? Yeah, great question. So anxiety, ego, that is all going to be fueled usually with judgment, and it's going to have a lot of charge to it. So anxiety tends to be the, oh my God, like the gasping for air, like, oh my God, this is going to happen. Oh my God, like kind of jumpy, hyper vigilant. You can already see my energy is tense and tight, right? Things like that. Those are not pings. That's anxiety talking. That's anxiety radio station. Intuition, pings are very pragmatic, direct, clear, straightforward, and are just neutral energy. Turn right, turn left, go straight, leave your job, don't do this, choose this, don't choose this. It's like, it's not, the energy is not charged like anxiety, where it's like the nervous hamster kind of running on the wheel. However, choices with intuition, you can perceive So now we're building on a lot of things that we talked about. You can perceive there's expansiveness with the choice. Not rightness, just expansive and space. Like there's possibilities there. Like you can create something different there. Versus ego, judgment, anxiety, conclusion, contraction energy. So it is quite different. So that's why it does take a lot of regulating in order to get us to a place where we can hear it. And for me, that's why I love to do things like I'll do some breath work first and then listen to some binaural beats to just tap in and have a conversation with my inner self. Have the conversation, because I get when I can just get in this neutral receiving mode, I can perceive the information. It's like very clear. It's very clear. The key here is for me to get out of attachment to what I think I should choose or what the right thing to choose is, or I'm getting the awareness, the ping that I should like get out of this situation. And now I'm worried about what the friend is going to think or something like that. That's when actually the information from our intuition, our ping, our awareness can then trigger the anxiety, the ego to like go into wanting to fix it mode already. Because then we're going to, what are people going to think? What are they going to, But the initial information is so, and it sounds like you. Because it is you. It's just you, right? That you're tapping into. So with this self-trust thing, yes, on a foundational level, does it involve you saying you're going to do something and then choosing it, right? So that's how you can build trust with you, is that, okay, I say this and I choose it and I follow through. That's how we start to build that. What else is coming up for you all? I'm curious, what questions do you have around this? Because it can be very complex in the sense that I'm not saying you have to always 100%, you said you're going to do it, so you better do it. You better do it. No, because as you choose things, you start to get more awareness and clarity that, maybe continuing down this road will not create the greatest for me. For me, I made a lot of pivots in my life, whether it was like going to dance, then leaving that. Then I was like, let me try hospitality, and let me try like fitness, and let me try psychology. And now I want to do really holistic psychology, but now I want to do energy, but now I want to do facilitation and mentorship, blah. Right? It's like I've made a lot of pivots. But if I had said, I said I was going to be a ballet dancer, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it till I'm 40. I'm 40 now. I'm going to do it, and then I'll choose something else. Well, then you block possibilities from yourself. You block being able to choose something else. And so it's not realistic. It's not going to create the greatest to say, well, no matter what I say, I'm going to choose it. So it's not that energy. But what would it take for you to start to build trust in you? What would you have to choose? To me, it's like I always have my own back. That I can pivot and change my mind and change my mind again and change my mind again and show up. Not like give up on myself energy. So do you see how there's a difference here between like I make promises or I am going to choose this thing no matter what versus I continue to follow through, persist with the energy. As I get more information, I'll pivot. And I'll pivot again. And that's where I trust myself. How do you get out of the anxiety of making the choice? Yeah. By learning to tolerate the discomfort in choosing. By learning to tolerate the discomfort in choosing. Because what we usually do is go into, well, I need to be calmer before I can choose this. I need to feel more confident before I can put myself out there, before I can go on live. I need to know more, be more, have another certification, have more experience before I can talk about this thing. Now, certainly, people just generally tend to go into the imposter syndrome mode versus like just talk about something they don't know anything about. So it's like the likelihood that you're doing that is very small, right? So we're not looking at that. We're looking at, well, okay, if you are feeling anxious about something, about choosing, then the antidote is to choose it. Isn't that fun? To choose it, right? So it's starting to get comfortable. You may not ever feel comfortable with it, but just be able to tolerate that discomfort. That's why things like cold exposure and really intense breath work are so helpful for anxiety. Not only are they moving the energy, but they are training us to tolerate discomfort. Cold water at whatever it is, 48 degrees for 3 minutes is not comfortable. Doing some of Wim Hof's breath works are not comfortable. Like holding your breath for a minute and a half after you've exhaled it all the way out. It's not comfortable. But it's showing yourself that you can choose it and do it anyways. I even noticed, I recently started taking some Legree classes, which I had never heard of before actually. And it's like Pilates on steroids. I'm going to say that loosely, but it's on this megaformer machine, and it's very small micro movements that are insanely difficult. And it's really challenging to think about anything else but just concentrate on your form and breathe through the discomfort. And I get how afterwards you just feel this sense of accomplishment because you did it. So it's kind of like we are waiting for the imposter syndrome to go away, for the anxiety to go away before we choose something. And that's not how it works. You have to choose first. You have to go first. You have to show the universe, this is what I'm choosing. I'm being it now. And this takes us all the way back to the beginning where we're talking about be, do, have, which I've not talked about in a lot of videos. Because this is an important point to get. I can tell you that anytime that I've been choosing things on social, in my business, I was anxious about. Like, I was anxious the first time I go live. I still get excitable, I will say. It's more easy to tolerate than it was in the beginning. I'm more comfortable to being more me, right? But it was very uncomfortable in the beginning. Or even just filming videos and putting myself out there. Or the first time I ran a Zoom coaching group. Even though I had done years of therapy groups, yet for some reason all of a sudden it was different, and this was my own biz, right? But it's like, I wasn't gonna let that stop me. Because to me, my mission is much larger than all that. So for what purpose do you choose what you do? Do you create the business you've created? How are you changing the world? One person at a time. And if you don't choose it, then those people won't get that experience with you. Right? If I had not chosen to leave my job and create all these different experiences with me, and now have so many amazing clients and connections with them and see them transform, they wouldn't have had those experiences with me. You make an impact. You make an impact. And you have something to offer, to teach, right where you're at right now. Right now. Not tomorrow, not next year. Yes, you'll have more to say tomorrow and more next year, But it's like you have something right now. Right now. No one knows all the things. No one knows all the things. People have gifts, capabilities, capacities, skills in different areas. You have your unique story that has given you real-time embodied information that no one else has. No one else has. So it's like you could have all the certifications in the world, and that's all interesting. And what's your embodiment of it? What are the embodied lessons you've had? Because that teaches you something completely different. And that's what I tell folks. A lot of these concepts that I talk about, like at first you won't hear it. Then you'll hear it and like kind of get it. Then you hear it and you get it and you're like, oh, cognitively that makes sense. And then you don't really get it until you have a real-time example in your life. Where you're like, oh, that's what she was talking about. That's what she was talking about. The be, do, have. I get it now. I have to be it. So, you know what your next step is. You know. You do know. You know. I promise you, you know. Even if it's like kind of cloudy right now and under the surface, you do know. So what would it take to A, get some clarity on it, and B, choose it? And that builds self-trust. Because the more data you can give yourself of that, then you're golden. You're empowered. You can tune into you and use your radar. Filter everything through your awareness. You can filter things through what feels expansive as being light and true for you. Full of possibilities. Things that are not true for you tend to go heavy and contract. So anything I say, anyone else says, you can filter it through that. What else is coming up for you all around self-trust? Because I get that this is just, it's like more greater, it's bigger than just like I say something and I do it. It's more than that. It's more than that, right? Because you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to change your mind. Because when you choose, you get more information. You get the embodied information. And so it's like, this is what I do a little bit. I stick to something so much because it's just, I think it's innate in me, besides like the previous dance training and whatnot, that I can just stick to something to the end, to a fault. I am determined, I'll stick through it, I can muscle through it. A lot of that dance culture was like, you're injured, you dance through it. You're sick, you dance through it. You just kind of learn to just keep going. And that can be to my detriment if I'm not aware that I'm getting other information that would suggest more ease in pivoting. So there is something about tuning into your awareness of, am I blocked here because I'm refusing to be something here? Like I'm refusing to show up as something, or that it's time to choose something else? Right? Because you might be blocked because you're refusing to just take the next step to put yourself out there, to really show up as you online, to stop hiding, to be you, right? So is it that, or have you gotten the ping to, it's time to pivot? And are you concerned about who it will upset if you choose something else? Do you see that's where we like refuse to be a certain energy? I think I go through it, and then when I pivot, I blame myself for not following through, even though I need to take the step. Yes, so that was definitely happening to me in real time. I could say probably like the past, 6 months. Time is like bending and folding right now. So for a period of time, I was really looking at, wow, I really love talking about business and it's interesting to me. And I naturally just, even though I was posting and creating a lot of mental health specific content, I attracted naturally a lot of entrepreneurs. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I just got more information about that and how much like our point of view and our mindset, of course, influences it. And so I was like, oh, well, I would like to speak more to that. That's fun. That's interesting to me. And I was unwilling to fully expose it energetically, I would say. So I was like, oh, I put a toe in, then take the toe out. Maybe put another toe in, take the toe out. Until recently where I was like, okay, time to stop hiding. Like, this is the pivot. It's here. And this is where you have to be also like willing to lose energetically. Meaning for me, it's like you could say overall loss in followers, because I had tons of growth from a lot of my mental health specific content. And when you evolve and change, you're not going to resonate with everyone who initially followed you. Some will grow with you, some will fall away, and then you also invite new people in. So it's all just interesting. But if you make all that really significant and real, like, I'm losing followers, like all that, if I put my attention to that, what will that create? That won't create greater. No, because then it's like I shrink up into a hole. Versus, no, okay, well, what would it take for me to like really step out as me now? Like more. Like expose me more. Expose the choice more. Expose the pivot more. What would that take? And so that's really more of the demand of me. So I trust, it's like you can have different levels of self-trust in different areas with yourself. And to me, it's like, I trust that I will never stop. Because I have lots of data in my life that I will never stop. And I will get to where I'm going. And it's not going to be a straight line, because it never is. I have lots of ups and downs. And the more you can make it less significant, the less you can, or the more you can get a judgment with it, it's going to create more ease. More ease. And that's what we want, because this life thing can be intense if we want it to be. It can be really intense. Really intense. Any other thoughts around self-trust? Because it's like you might have trust with yourself with always procrastinating. Are you the procrastinator? Do you trust that you will procrastinate and that's normally what you choose? Do you trust that you will follow through on your word? Do you trust that you can have your own back no matter what, even if things don't work out? Can you trust to change your mind every 10 seconds and have your back choose you and allow other people to go away if it's not right for them? That's it. That's very different than just show up no matter what. It's like persistently go after the energy. Different than consistent. Consistent is you must show up the same way every single time. Persistent is follow the energy of what's coming up for the day. And showing up like that, because consistency has a limitation inherently, because it's a conclusion. You have to do the same thing all the time. You're an infinite expanded being. You're going to change your mind all the time. Sometimes showing up is the most important thing. Yeah, my generation tends to isolate when they are not ready, even though sometimes you just need to show up even if you don't feel ready. Yes, yeah, I get that. And there's just, there is so much pressure out there, and we're really in an intense reality, society, cancel culture, judgment, it's insane. It's insane. So, like, literally insanity. So, that can all be a lot of intense energy to perceive and receive. And so part of it is being able to expand our capacity for receiving it. To have a greater capacity for receiving it. And that means that you don't make other people's points of view real and true. The more you can make them less significant, the more you can choose you. And so it's when we function from judgment, and like, what day do we talk about that? Day 4. That's the call to just listen to over and over again. We talk about judgment in every call, but that day 4 of this series was on judgment. And that is the thing to get, because if we're so focused on the wrongness of us, we won't show up. We're not creative when we're in the judgmental mindset. It literally puts us in mini fight and flight responses, so it shuts down creative centers of our brain and doesn't allow us to be in a flow state. So it is the killer of creation, judgment, truly. And so that's what has us hole up. So we kind of have to get to this place where we're willing to be wrong, willing to be messy, willing to be seen as the imposter, because someone will project it that way. Someone will perceive it that way. Someone won't like you. Someone will disagree. Someone, like, right? It's like, that is always present. So it's like, what would it take to not put your attention to that? And I'm saying this because generally people put way too much attention to that and then they stop creating. And this is where I got really clear on my mission, which is to catalyze choice in people, because that will quite literally change the world. The people who are doubting themselves the most are the ones that have so much to offer. Right? It's like, I bet you see it in other people where you're like, wow, they'll really be something, or wow, they're creating something great. Like, you see it in them. So what would it take for you to see it in you? If you see it in others, it's because you see it in you. You're just not allowing it through. And so this is the big one to start building that trust, is to just show up really imperfectly. I'll tell you, I just posted a TikTok, like right before this live, of a role play. Someone had asked, how do I have the, like, we're just not the best fit. We're just not the best fit to like a potential client. Like maybe you're a coach or healer or something like that. How do I have that conversation? I'm like, oh, okay, let me role play it. That's like my old jam. That's why I used to do a lot of mental health content. Let me role play it. And I was watching it over and I was like, wow, I said, I'm getting that like 3 times in it. And I was like, oh, I can record it. And I'm like, what's going to create greater? No, post it. I'm just like, move on. Move on. Post it and move on. Next. What else am I creating? Next. Because if you slow yourself down by needing to like make things perfect, then you'll stop yourself. Now, certainly I get that I could record it again, right? And it maybe wouldn't take too long, but then I was looking at, I'm gonna have to put the video back on the tripod, or the camera back on the tripod, and then I might not be in the exact same spot. And I was kind of like, I'm gonna leave it imperfect. Kind of like when there's a spelling error. Well, I posted it. I'm not gonna take the time to like take it all down and like redo it or refilm it. Like one of my last videos, I think there was like a spelling error in it or something. And courtesy, I spelled wrong. Like, and someone DM'd me about it. I said, well, I'm very willing to be wrong here and still post content. Even though it's like, I see it after the fact. I see it, I'm like, I'm leaving it. Leaving it. I'm not gonna refilm this whole video and no. And yes, I get that you desire a certain quality or standard, right? And that will naturally improve with time as you do things, right? Your content will improve, just the way you show up will improve, all of that will improve with time. Is doubt always bad, meaning trying to stop you, or is it sometimes valid, like trying to protect you? Oh, that's a good question. I would look at it as, would an infinite being doubt themselves? Because doubt has that energy of finiteness and judgment. And, oh, wow, there's so much there. Yeah. Would an infinite being doubt themselves? Because what would the doubt protect you from? I mean, look at it this way. If I'm looking off like a one-story building, or on the ledge of a one-story building, and I look that, wow, jumping down there might not create the greatest. Jumping off this one-story building might not create the greatest. Not in the sense of doubt energy, but more like capacity-wise and capability-wise, I get that I could break something. So it's not necessarily doubting my abilities, but I'm having an awareness that, for my safety, probably not going to choose that. Do you see how that's a different energy? Doubt tends to be more in the sense of just wanting to keep you safe, wanting to keep you comfortable. So if we can get to the place of, or out of, right and wrongness, that's what changes it. Because if I just look at, will this create greater, yes or no, not is this the right thing to choose or the wrong thing to choose. Because the right and wrong has me in conclusion. And the yes or no universe, I'm just tapped into possibilities. Yes, okay, expansive. No, kind of contracted. I could still choose the no. And then I'll get more awareness. Hopefully that clarifies that. The doubt call was something else. Yeah, I think I got that question. Any other questions that you all had around that? Around the self-trust, around the doubt? It's a lot. But that's like one of my go-to questions. Would an infinite being choose this? Would an infinite being doubt themselves? And if not, for what purpose do you? It's just a helpful way to reground you to the infiniteness that you are, to the expansiveness that you are. Versus so focused in this reality of right, wrong, good, bad. I mean, we just drive up our anxiety so easily. We're back into that 97.7 radio station. Well, if you all have more questions about the doubt, I definitely highly recommend the Obliterating Doubt call. I mentioned at the beginning of this call, I'm doing like a 36-hour deal where you can get the Get Seen on Social program. So that's from Activate in September. Those calls, which were all about showing up as you, the energetics and pragmatics of it, as well as the Obliterating Doubt call. And they just really went nicely hand in hand. That's a masterclass. It was a 2-call. And it's normally $777. However, for 36 hours, it's going to be 50% off. 50% off. I'm going to drop the link and the code in my stories. So stay tuned. And friendly reminder, Activate if you want to join the full program. So it's a 6-month commitment. It's 20% off either the payment plan or the pay in full till tonight. Tonight only, using the code ACTIVATE. Made it very easy. So that is for the full program. Basically, it's a new program every month, and I am just so juiced about this program. I love the people who are in there. They're so excited to create something new with their business. And each month, I'm following the energy of what I sense are really foundational things to talk about, as well as like what I'm learning constantly. So last month was Get Seen on Social. And this coming month is, well, this month, October, Let Your Biz Tell You What to Do, because people are in so much doubt about what to choose next and they want to like seek answers outside of themselves, that I really want people to get that you can trust you. You can trust you. And if you listen to that, what would that create? All right, y'all, I'll see you tomorrow.